Good morning, happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Tomorrow, AFC Bournemouth kick off their Premier League campaign. Well, that's what it feels like. We're actually just going to be restarting. So this is the preview of tomorrow's game that's going to be live on the BBC. To help me do that, we've got Jeff Hayward here. Jeff, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Also, podcast regular Paul Kenwood. Paul, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Excited for tomorrow.
And also Mr Tigz, Tony. Tony, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, buddy.
And well, it all kicked off on Wednesday. Did you watch much of it, Jeff?
I saw the Villa game, and what can I say? Reassuring to see goal line technology failing like that. Hopefully that point isn't going to cost us towards the end of the season. I thought Villa looked poor. I thought Sheffield United were average, but both sides looked a bit rusty, and a lot of cramp in that second half, which didn't help as well. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. I think fitness could be an issue. The best prepared team ought to come out on top, I would think, in these first round of fixtures.
Tony, we've been waiting for it for 3 months, and we've had a VAR-less 3 months, and then we're talking about GDS, and then VAR should have been overruling GDS after a terrible... I mean, that incident on it was barely 30 minutes or 35 minutes, and it was so clearly over the line, wasn't it, for Sheffield United?
Yeah, I tweeted at the time maybe that somebody had unplugged it to plug in their phone at lunchtime to charge it up, because I can't understand. Like, what is that? What we've got to now? The robots tell us if it's a goal or not. I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. People have eyes.
And Paul, did you see that it was Hawkeye called it a word called occlusion or something, and in the however many hours they've had, it's the first time it's ever happened, and their 7 cameras couldn't pick it up. But surely you'd think if the signal is lost or they don't track it, then it should be manually looked at by VAR, but apparently not.
Well, that's right. You said yourself, most baby monitors these days have the ability to tell you that it's lost connection. So
why you get them for 20 quid down Argus? So I mean,
either that, or maybe Michael Oliver had the wrong watch on. Maybe put his iWatch on instead. Potentially that. I mean, it's a comedy of errors, really. The goal line system with 7 cameras that couldn't see it, but we had one on Sky dead on the line. You could see it clearly, and then VAR didn't step in. Michael Oliver didn't use his head. The linesman didn't flag. And then to top it all off, everybody at halftime saw that it was definitely a goal. And then Villa didn't do what Leeds did, the year before, and let Sheffield score, which is what should have happened, really.
I don't know about you guys, but when the teams came out and when they lined up, it actually made me quite upset, because the fact that football is nothing without fans, and just to see them standing there, it was so vacuous. It was horrible. I'll do a quick straw poll: Sky Sports Premier League with the without the sound, or Sky Sports Main Event where you did have the sound. What did you do, Jeff?
I didn't have the sound on, actually. I went for the authentic no noise experience. I actually watched it while I was cooking. That's what I did. So it was on my phone in silence, and a drab 0-0, probably the best experience it deserved, actually.
Paul, what do you do?
I watched it on Main Event, so I had it with the fake crowd noise, which at times was over the top. When there was a shot on goal, it sounded like a goal had gone in occasionally. I think it was just like a little bit over the top. But I do think actually it was much better to watch it. I did flick to one of the fan channel things where they had 4 people talking about sort of issues as the game was on next to it, which actually was quite nice as well. It was sort of like a bit like this, but with a match going on at the same time. But definitely had to have the crowd noise to make it watchable.
One of my takeaway points, and the thing that was going through my head all last night in my sleep, was Villa, 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 because that's the only chant that they seemingly had. Now, Aston Villa fans have got a number of chants, including their version of that LA, 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 but none of that. It was just this horrendous. I mean, Tony, what did you do?
I went with the Main Event, although I will be campaigning with Sky to offer the Jeff Hayward cooking sound. Those lovely noises.
Pop, 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 ping. I mean, I actually flicked also on a stream to NBCSN, and they had a different sound. It sounded more authentic than what Sky were providing. But of course, watch legally, guys. But yeah, I did shut that out, and I it ended up 0-0. I really hope that point that Villa gained won't come back to bite us. And then obviously we had the Man City Arsenal game, and it was quite comforting to see a much faster paced match. And because I thought that Villa were quite poor in that, and you're looking at them thinking, they are relegation fodder, Jeff.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Villa looked disappointing, and I would be worried if that's a game. They've got to look at their fixtures, thinking that was one of their must-win games, and they didn't look anywhere near scoring. I didn't think really throughout that game. The Man City Arsenal game, that was also reassuring because David Luiz is as bad as I remember him, so that was fantastic too. I thought. Yeah. So continuity was nice to see.
Yeah, agreed. So obviously tomorrow, huge game for AFC Bournemouth. Eddie Howe's had his press conference, so you can see across the bottom of the screen on the ticker exactly what he said. And obviously Ryan Fraser was a huge part of that. We now know, what's going to happen in terms of Ryan Fraser. No signing of the extension, etc. Wasn't pictured earlier doing the press shots, said Chris Latcham off 5 Live. Paul, what would you be doing? Would you be giving him these 2 games or waving goodbye?
I think you've got to say goodbye. I think just let him, do the training maybe with the squad, but don't include him in any of the sort of the match day practice, if you like, or any of the lineups for free kicks and all that kind of thing. Just phase him out. I don't think we need him for the 2 games if Danjuma's fit, Brooks is fit. And Wilson, Harry Wilson as well, and Stanislas. I think they're actually slightly better players than them this season anyway, certainly if they're fit.
Tony, what were your thoughts on Ryan Fraser? Because it's an unfortunate end to what was a relatively good spell at AFC Bournemouth. Now, I say relatively because he didn't really feature even much in the Championship, but then in the Premier League, he had that huge season, and then things off the pitch just didn't seem to tally in my head. I said on Radio Solent about removing his Twitter account, almost like he can't get any feedback anymore from the Bournemouth fans. That really questionable interview to Chris Temple where he basically admitted, I haven't been trying. And now this as well. It's just the nail in the coffin, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I held a lot of affection for him. I thought he was a fantastic player. Last season was the pinnacle of that. I think really, I kind of juxtapose it with Jordan Ibe. And the decision on Jordan had been made fairly early, and Jordan's not been with the club. He's not been training. Ryan has been training with us, and it seems from I read a tweet, I can't remember who it was from, I'm afraid, that the decision was made, I think it was Peter Rutzer actually, the decision that he wasn't going to sign that extension for the 9 games was made Monday. Yeah. So, in terms of Eddie's preparation, has he been preparing with Fraser, trying to sway him, hoping he'll sign? It just leaves such a sour taste.
Jeff, would you be putting him as a substitute or?
God no. I think he's Ryan who. There's always been a bit of an Eddie Ryan father-son relationship going on. I think now it's time for Ryan to fly the nest, do what you can do, and see you in the mid-table championship team next season. I
wouldn't sit him on a bench at fucking Wagamama. I would, and there's no chance. I absolutely think that he's had his time now, and just the way he conducted himself this season has been really poor. And the fact that he admitted that in an interview, I don't know what he was trying to achieve earlier with Chris Temple earlier in the season by saying what he said. And he had a few glimpses where he looked as if he was maybe back to his old self, but when you look at it as a whole, it seems like a kick in the teeth, given what the club have done for him, what Eddie's done for him. So what would we do? What are we going to do? We're going to name our team lineups because we're all excited about this one. Shall we try to do it mutually? Shall we?
Yeah. Okay.
I think a lot of positions do sort of lend themselves to that.
So what we'll do is we've got a website up here called Chosen 11, right? And we'll start at the back. So, I mean, Ramsdale, he's a shoo-in, right?
Yep.
Ake and Cook?
Yep.
Pretty much confirmed. So right side, left side, there's options here.
I'm saying Stacey and Smith.
So, you're saying Stacey and Smith. What would you go for, Paul?
I would go Stacey, definitely. I'd go Lloyd Kelly, potentially left back, if not Rico.
Would that be a bit of a risk putting Kelly in? So
Potentially. I mean, everyone's had a big rest, so Kelly's had a big chance to get his fitness up. He's had enough time training now, I would say, to have followed the team. I just prefer a left-sided player to a right-sided player on the left. That's just my preference.
And Tony, what would you say?
This is going to get really complicated. I'd probably go Smith Rico. Yeah. I think it's going to be up to you here, Sam. You have to make a deciding vote.
I think Stacey showed. So I think Kelly, for me, it's a little bit too soon. And I think for continuity, I think like Adam Smith has got that level of experience that I think would sort of bode well. But Stacey, I'm sort of really keen on as well. So for me, it's either Smith on the right, Rico on the left, or Stacey and Smith. I think Stacey will probably get the nod, and then it's just a case on the left. So I think Smith maybe. I'll put that in for now, but obviously feel free to disagree. So there we go. There is Jack Stacey, and we're going to go for Adam Smith on the left-hand side there. So there we go. Right. 4-4-2, 4-3-3. What are we thinking? We've got Callum there up front already because we think that he's pretty much going to be there. But then obviously Jefferson Lerma's going to be in there, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I think he's going to go with Lerma and Billing, I think, in the middle.
But no one's seen Philip Billing on any pre-season videos recently in the week. And sometimes these are premeditated things that Eddie does, but will he play?
It did look like he had a little bit of an ankle problem, I read somewhere, but not too serious, hopefully. So I think the form that he showed in the last couple of games, you have to put him in there. But I'm open to persuasion. If it's not Billing, it has to be Lewis Cook, I think.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there have been some formations that I've seen that are basically your sort of hybrid 4-5-1 that can turn into a 4-3-3, and I'm thinking that might be a formation that will bode well for this match. I think Jamie Williams on Twitter posted a formation I thought looked pretty good. So, and that was packing out the midfield, and he did that successfully in a few games. Chelsea away last season, where it was it was a weird midfield because like Lewis Cook was on the right hand side and stuff. Paul, what would you be thinking? How many across the midfield would you be tempted to put?
I'd probably go with the 4. Certainly against Crystal Palace, who I don't see as giving us much threat apart from Zaha falling over occasionally. But I think the midfield, certainly Billing, if he's fit, should start. Same with Lerma. Yeah. And
on the wings, this is where it gets quite difficult. Obviously, Fraser's out of the equation. Jordan Ibe out of the equation. Then you're looking at Harry Wilson, deadly from a set piece. You've got Dan Juma, that's not really proven himself yet. But, he could be someone that could go in there. Josh King can play out wide. Harry and also David Brooks, of course. Tony, what are your thoughts here for the wide men?
I think the beauty of this is that who Eddie picks could give him versatility. And when you're talking about a change of formation, so if you had King out wide, you could push King up front later on. Similarly, if you had Harry Wilson out wide, he could move a bit further forward, tuck in behind Callum. So I think for that, on that side, I think definitely Harry Wilson or King, and then you could interchange with the other centre forward. On the other side, it's got to be Brooks for me. I mean, if we've got him anywhere near where he hasn't played for a year, I know, but if he can run and he can kick, I want him on the pitch. I think
he's got a cast on his arm, hasn't he? But hopefully he'll make the game.
Apparently he damaged his wrist or something, which maybe that was excitement at Ryan Fraser leaving the club. I don't know, but I don't know. It seems like he has got a lot of pressure on his shoulders from fans, maybe not internally within the club, but a lot of people are expecting him to, be a box of tricks and to be that dynamic player that can link the midfield and strikers like he did effortlessly sort of numerous times last season. But Jeff, would you be putting him in there?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I think you've got to start him. And I would say,
whereabouts would it be?
I would say play him on the right side of midfield, and I would put Josh King on the left. I would say that if think if Fraser was available, I don't think he'd get in the team anyway, because I think King is a better player than he is on current form.
I would have gone a different way, personally. I would have definitely started with Danjuma. I think he is the bright light that's going to shine through, apart from Brooks, obviously.
And would you be maybe swapping him for King, like that, for instance?
Yeah, I'd put King up top with Callum, personally. But that's, that's the beauty of football, is that everyone's got an opinion.
I don't know, Tony. Thoughts on what we're seeing here?
I mean, this is the thing. I've got a feeling that against Crystal Palace, I think we'll start the game one way and we'll finish it a different way. I think it will look different. And I think all of the options that we've gone through, you could see in that game. You could see being played out at some point in that game. I think the problem with Danjuma is, has he started a game yet?
I think he did at Spurs, did he? Or
I don't think he started.
He started at Watford, and he started at Liverpool, I think, as well.
And I mean, do you think? I mean, I wouldn't say inexperience with David Brooks, but would you say those look like relatively weak flanks based on the fact that they haven't really had much Premier League football?
I think. Well, one player that we haven't talked about yet is the other Wilson, and I think I've said every flipping podcast this year, Harry Wilson should be played in a floating number 10 sort of role, and this is the chance to do that because you've got Brooks playing on that wide position. So I think Harry Wilson, just off the other Wilson, would actually.
But he never does, though, does he?
He never does.
Which
but
kind of makes me think
the time, I think. Yeah. What do I know?
Tony?
I agree with Jeff. I mean, the thing is, I think, and I greatest respect to Harry Wilson. I think he's brilliant. I mean, he's our leading goal scorer, isn't he, this season? I think he was brought in because we lost Brooks. We lost Brooks, and we needed somebody who could do a bit of what Brooks does, but he's not Brooks. So if you've got Brooks back, you've got to play Brooks in that position, and you can use Harry Wilson for what Derby did with him, exactly as Jeff said. Playing him behind the front man.
But then, what do you do with King?
King, you play where Danjuma is, Paul. Sorry,
King doesn't want to play where Danjuma is.
Yeah, well,
he wants to play up front.
But he's very effective there. So
he's good there, and he tries. Unlike Ryan.
Should we perhaps label this our chosen team then, rather than our expected team?
I think this is how the game will finish with this team potentially.
It's it's almost that's what we want, but that is admittedly it's not what we're going to get, is it?
Can I also make a quick point about the opposition and the way that Palace beat us at Sellers Park when they had 10 players was they packed the defence, forced us to play in front of them, and then hit us with a goal on the break. And Roy Hodgson is not an idiot. He will try and do, I think, exactly the same again, just bore us to death and hit us on the break.
It was an awful game, wasn't it? And we did have spells where it felt like we could have got something out of it. But, we were quite toothless in attack. But we showed some promise against Liverpool. And part of me thinks, will Eddie try to go for the same recipe in terms of the side? But obviously, one of the main danger men, Paul, is
Zaha. Yeah. So Zaha is, if he's on his game, he's unplayable, and if he stays on his feet, again, he has an amazing ability to rip defences apart. And I could see him, attacking down the wing, and if it's Rico there at left back, or if it's, an inexperienced right back in Stacey potentially, we could end up very under attack down the wings.
It's quite nice to have these problems, though, isn't it, Tony? For once, everyone is back, and 9 games left. Are we going to do it? Yeah,
of course we are. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, win, and then we can,
cruise.
Have a pina colada.
So we'll do some predictions. Then we'll go round and. We won't do head versus heart. We'll just say, what do you think it's going to be? Jeff, we'll start with you. What are you thinking?
Okay. Last 3 Palace games, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. So I'm looking for us to break that run. I had a dream last night and we drew 2-2 and it was an awful game. So I'm going for a 5-0 win for us.
5-0 win? Oh, my goodness. Live on BBC, I would take that. Paul Kenwood, what are you going for?
2-2. I'm going with Jeff's 2-2. It's going to be a bore draw, unfortunately. But
Well, that sounds quite an exciting one, but yeah.
It's not the game we want.
No, it certainly isn't. Mr Tigz.
I'm going to go for a Lincoln, a 5-2. Bit of both.
5-2.
Oh, if only. BBC.
I'm going to go for just a 2-0. A 2-0, yeah, 2-0 Bournemouth win. Because I think we have got the quality, and we always seem to shine in matches at home where there is a lot that is expected of us, and hopefully there may be something to encourage the players before the game as well. Obviously it's going to be weird for them without having any fans in the stadium, so we'll see what they do. But what's your routine going to be then, Jeff? Because obviously you're not going. You're going to park a mile away from the ground and then walk to your own house to get the authentic Vitality Stadium experience.
I'll get the cooking out of the way first, this time. Yeah. I think just put my feet up and enjoy match of that. I mean, it's going to be such a rare, pleasurable experience to Saturday night primetime viewing live on the BBC. We're going to have all the attention and just going to bask in it, really. Looking forward to it.
Tony, are you going to be buying a pie from the shop, and as you walk into the lounge, your wife's patting you down just to make sure you haven't got anything on you? Oops, there's a bit of metal. It's a remote control. Away it goes. No. I mean, it's going to be so strange, isn't it? It's not the way that we want to watch football, but it's the only thing we can do. But you're going to be excited.
I'm going to be very excited. I mean, get the cooking out of the way, get the feet up, and I'll probably text you boys actually.
Yeah.
That'll be my fan in the crowd with me, won't it?
Well, half time, a lot of people, go down from the north stand. They go to the toilets and they piss on the floor. I take it you won't be doing that in the bathroom, there, Paul, will you?
No, my son will be. He's only 5, and he's still doing that. But he'll be long in bed. But that'll be my routine before the game: is put the kids to bed, get a beer, and then fight my wife for the control for the telly.
Right.
And, I think I've managed to bagsy it already.
It is Father's Day this weekend, so that's what I've.
Yeah, not till Sunday though.
Yeah, but I'm getting my benefits in early.
Good thinking. I'll try that one. Yeah.
Well,
you can record it and watch the next day, Paul.
Well, yeah, my son's asked me to record it for him, so I will. Anyway, I'll probably watch it back again.
Hopefully we'll all be celebrating a Bournemouth win. Here on Back of the Net, we're still going to be doing our usual thing. There's going to be the podcast that's out on Monday, and there'll be some fan reaction on the channel as well, on the YouTube channel. We'll give you more information over our socials about how we're doing that. It's quite interesting seeing how the different social media channels for like Arsenal, AFTV, the Red Men, and the Villa View, Man City Fan TV, they're all doing it in slightly different ways. I spoke to Freddie from the Ugly Inside Southampton, and he's just getting people to send it in. So we're going to work out a route whereby you can have your say, because we want it to be truly representational of what the fans think. But yeah, let us know what you think of the team. Just a reminder, this is what we want, but possibly not what we expect. It's Eddie Howe after all. But let us know, what do you think for the teams? Put them in the comments below. But until then, enjoy the game tomorrow and up the cherries. We'll see you in the next video.
Back in the day!